Well, good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. This is the introduction of the new online Lutheran Service Builder. It's a very exciting time for us here at Concordia Publishing House. We have been waiting for this for several years. I know you who are using Lutheran Service Builder too have also been waiting a while as well. So thanks so much for being here today, for joining us on kind of a last minute. We just sent out this announcement late last week. This is our early release of the new online Lutheran Service Builder, and it's only available to current customers. We'll be releasing it available to everybody later on this summer, but we wanted to give all of our faithful customers a kind of a sneak peek and again, early access. So it's not even just a sneak peek, it's more than that. You get to start using it right away. So we'll talk through that process and how you can convert. We're going to kind of do it slowly and roll it out this month, one customer at a time, and we've got thousands of customers who are eager to join. So we'll go through that process in just a moment. But to start us off, let me introduce myself again. I'm Peter Frank. I'm the Senior Manager of our Church Supplies Group here at Concordia Publishing House, and that includes Lutheran Service Builder. I've been with the Lutheran Service Builder team for a couple of years now. As we were started with this process, I became involved and got to see this new Lutheran Service Builder kind of go from the ground up. It's been a long time in coming. I think we released the second version back in 2008, and we've done a number of things here in terms of software development at Concordia Publishing House. And so some of those other projects took a little bit of priority, but we wanted to gain feedback from our customers and gain an understanding of how to develop web applications, and I think you'll be very pleased with the results. So my contact information is on the screen. You can reach me at my email address or my phone number. Email address is better to reach me at because I'm not in my office as often as I'd like to be, but that phone number does take you directly here, and it looks like I do have all my messages forwarding to voicemail right now, so don't try calling right now. All right, a few housekeeping items. I just heard somebody say they have no sound, cannot hear anything. I'm hoping that's an issue on their end. If you can hear me okay, please put a note in the chat. I appreciate it. I'm not sure exactly what happened. Looks like, okay. We've got some other people saying we're good. So I think that's probably on her end. All right, everybody's saying it. Good. Well, thanks. Glad to hear first off that I can sound, you can hear me talking, and also glad that you found the question spot. So thank you to the several dozen of you who said we're good. So very good. We'll keep moving forward. All right, my plan for today is about 50 minutes for presentation. Now, this is my first time presenting this. It's obviously brand new, so I may go a little over, I may go a little under, we'll see. I'm planning on about 10 minutes for questions and answers at the end. I'm sure you're going to have a bunch because this is brand new and you've been using Lutheran Service Builder too for a while. So please feel free to ask questions throughout. I've got Tim on the line who's going to be looking at those questions and answering those as best as he can and as quickly as he can, depending on how fastly they come across. So Tim, thanks for being here today. So please feel free to put those in. If we don't answer live, either over the air or in the chat box, we'll get back to you after the fact. So just wanted you to know that. And finally, we will be recording this webinar. We'll be sharing it later on today or early tomorrow at the latest. We'll also make it available in our resource center so that you can share the link to other people. We really want this information to get out. It's fantastic that you are here live, but if you are watching this as a recording, thank you for watching after the fact. I know it's hard to pull yourself away from the busy task of working in the church. So thank you again to those of you who were able to do that and join live. All right, I'm making a few assumptions. I always make a few assumptions about those who are attending to kind of help structure the presentation. I'm assuming you are an active Lutheran Service Book user. If you are brand new to Lutheran Service, Lutheran Service Builder, I get those confused, Lutheran Service Builder. If you are brand new to this, this will probably be not enough information to get you started because I'm going to be showing the changes that we made in the online version, but I'm not going to start with every single step that you need to get started if you've never used Lutheran Service Builder before. I'm definitely going to show the whole process of moving online, but we're only going to go through the core differences. All right, I'm also assuming there, you know the core concepts of Builder too. I'm not going to go through it all. We will have trainings for that later on in the summer, and those will be available free and with the recordings available too. So just to kind of temper your expectations, we're not going through every single thing today. There's certainly not enough time to do that. Finally, I'm assuming that you are not a field tester. We've had about 150 churches actively using this new online version for several months. We rolled that out slowly too, taking on a few dozen churches at a time. And they have provided fantastic feedback. They've said nothing but great things. They found some things we can improve, and we've already done that. So they're still working on it. If you are a field tester, though, you'll probably know most of what I'm going to talk about today. So not that you can't be here, but it might not be as valuable for you because you're going to know a lot of this already. All right, now's the chance for me to ask you to tell me a little bit about yourself. Really, I'm just going to ask one. Sometimes I ask more than one question, but today I think we'll just ask this one question to help me know who's here in the audience today. All right, so what is the primary role that you have at your church? I know many people wear many hats. It'll help me just get a better understanding as we get into the presentation about who is here today. All right, looks like we've got 70% voting. So far, we're almost at an even split between ordained pastors and administrators. And then we've got a small number who are church musicians or other. So that's pretty good. That's kind of what I expected. All right, so let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and close that poll. Thank you very much for answering that. All right, let's move into our outline for today. First off, I'm going to review the updated license agreement. I know this is the most boring part for most people. That's why I'm putting it up front. We won't spend too much time on it, but I want to talk through our process of how to move online, which will include signing a new license agreement. And we've got a different process for doing that this time. I'll talk about that in a moment. We won't spend too much time on that. Then I'll go through the actual process of how you will convert from Builder 2 to the new online version. Now this has several steps to it. They're not difficult, and we've got a download that'll be made available to you when you get started so that you can follow those steps to a T. It should be very simple. This is also one of the things that our field testers worked through, and we had good feedback that it went smoothly for them as well. And finally, the bulk of our presentation today will be about what has changed and what has not. Now, our goal as we moved online was to make it as familiar as possible. However, it's new technology. We've had lots of feedback over the years on how to improve it, and we put a lot of that into the new product. And so it will be different, and you'll see that here as we move into it. So just wanted to caution you, some of it will be different, a lot of it will be the same. All right, and the last thing for today will be those question and answers. And I'll try to answer as many of those out loud for the benefit of everybody, but we'll also be answering them in the chat. So just like you did when you let me know that the audio is working, please feel free at any time to put your questions in there, and we'll be happy to answer those. All right, let's dig in. So, like I said, the most exciting part, reviewing the updated license agreement. Don't worry, we're not going to go through it line by line. But I wanted to explain that process of why we needed to update it. So one of the first things you'll do in order to move online, and I'll have the link later on for you, is to set up a time to talk with our software consultants. And they are happy to take your call. That'll be about a 15-minute or less call. One of the first things they'll do is go through that updated license agreement. Some of the things that have changed, well, first off, it's a web software, so that changes the dynamics of the software. It's not being installed on your computer anymore. It's going to be available online. So that had to change from a few legal standpoints, nothing major. And then also GDPR, which probably doesn't apply to most of you. If you are not familiar with that, and I took notes so I made sure to get it right, it's the General Data Protection Regulation. We just refer to it internally as GDPR. It's a new regulation in the European Union about data privacy and how to collect that, and or how you should collect that, how you should store it and use it, and especially by giving people the chance to opt out. And so we have a few things in there related to that. So that's an important part of it. But what's also exciting about it is that our license agreement now includes streaming and the ability to record and put your services up on podcasts. Now, depending on which liturgy or what license you have, whether it's liturgy, which is included with your Builder subscription, or if you also have the hymn license, which is an additional fee, although a good percentage, in the high 80% of our audience, our customer base, has the HIM license as well. Then you can stream your entire service. If you built it out of Lutheran Service Builder, you'd be able to stream it. Now, there's a few exceptions that will be listed in the license agreement that are not available for streaming and therefore not available for use outside the US either. It really starts with not available for use outside the US, which means you can't stream them. So that is all in the license agreement. We've got a contracts team that can answer any questions about that. But it's very few. I think it's under 10, maybe right around 10 out of all the hymns in Lutheran Service Book. So we had to update the license agreement to account for that. And the final thing that is probably the most inconvenient part for you, and it's not a big deal, is aligning the subscription dates. We're hoping that this will actually make it really easy for you moving forward. We'll have people who might have a builder subscription and a hymn license and a Concordia organist license, and they all start at different days during the year, and so there'll be separate invoices sent. What we hope to do during this process is to align them all to the same start and end dates. It'll allow some more flexibility for packaging those together in the future. It'll also make it easier for you as you are submitted for payment to your Board of Finance or to your treasurer, that you're not having to explain that 2 or 3 times during the year. So this is an ideal time to do it. So we're going to wrap that all up into a new agreement with us. All right, so let's see what's next. We've got the other change to the process is rather than just checking a box and sending it, our software consultant will send you an electronic contract that you would sign. What's great about this is that it can be forwarded to an appropriate person. So we'll often hear from maybe the office manager or administrative assistant that, well, I'm not authorized to sign this. We need the pastor, we need the treasurer to sign this. This new process that we have will allow you to forward it on to that person. So make sure you talk to your software consultant about that. It also allows you to be able to print a copy of it. It has all of the details of your agreement, when your renewal date is, how much it's going to be. We are not increasing the price of Lutheran Service Builder with this online edition. It is the exact same price as your current subscription. The structure is the same, whether you have Builder and hymn license, or you don't have the hymn license but maybe have organist with it. Those prices will stay the same, and they'll stay the same up to the point of your renewal. Now, we probably will have a price increase in late 2019, but that's not definite yet, and we'll certainly let you know if that does become definite. But at least between now and your next renewal, nothing will change. Your next renewal will be at this rate too, and so your new agreement will spell all of that out. So that's why all those things factor into the need to talk with a software consultant, as well as these next pieces, which is how to convert from Lutheran Service Builder to, oops, I jumped too quickly. So I want to clarify that the only way to get into the new online Lutheran Service Builder is through Lutheran Service Builder 2. And that's why we're doing this early release for current customers. By the time we release it at the end of the summer, of course, we'll be able to accept new customers. That's not you guys who are here today. You who are here today are using Lutheran Service Builder. In order to get to the new online version, you'll have to go through the latest update to Lutheran Service Builder 2. All right, so let's talk through that process. So like I mentioned, the latest version, which is 2.3.8. So at this time, I'm going to switch over my screen, and we'll go to Lutheran Service Builder 2. Let me make sure that's showing for you, okay? All right, very good. So for those of you who are very familiar with Lutheran Service Builder, you will obviously know this. The way to get to the latest version is to go up to Tools. And I'm sorry, I can't zoom in anymore, but under Tools, you go to Check for Updates. And I know many of you already automatically check for updates when you open it. So you can see for me, it says there are no updates at this time because I'm already on 2.3.8. But if you don't have the latest version, you'll have a listing of updates. And if you are farther back, you may have several updates. Go ahead and go through this process, follow the on-screen prompts. If you have any trouble with that, our support team is happy to help you with that. That's going to be the first step, and you can do that right now if you are not on the latest version of it, even before speaking with a software consultant. So that is the first step to getting online. All right, then after that, you're going to go and click Try the next version of Builder. And like I mentioned before, we're going to give you all these detailed instructions when you're ready to move forward. All right, so the way to do that, let me make sure, I've got too many things open right now, is under Tools. The very first thing under there will be Try the Next Version of Builder. So that makes sense. We'll click that. Now, for me, I've already uploaded the database, and so it says Upload Successful. What is really exciting about this new version is you can bring everything you've already done in Lutheran Service Builder online with you. And so your past services, your My Worship resources, all of that comes into the new version of Builder so that you can really get off the ground running. You don't have to recreate things. You don't have to recreate your new form or bulletin formats or anything like that. It'll come with you. And so I'll show you what that looks like when we get into the online version. But in order to do that, we have to bring that online. And in order to get it to sync to the right account, that's where you're going to need a new user account. So when you go and click Try the New Version of Builder, you're going to get what you see here. And I should clarify, all of this comes after signing the license agreement. Our team, our software consultants will flip the switch for your account so that you can access this. So I don't know if I made that clear. After the license agreement, then you can begin this process. Certainly you can get up to 2.3.8 sooner, but you won't be able to go any farther than this screen after until they've turned on your access. All right, just to clarify that. All right, so you'll see here it'll say sign in. Now you may say, well, what do I sign in with? I don't have to have a sign in when I get into Builder 2. Well, this refers to either creating a new account or a Lutheran calendar account. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, about 2 years ago, we released lutherancalendar.org. And lutherancalendar.org is a free online calendar of the church year. And when you click on a specific date, you can see the propers for that day in the church year. You also have the opportunity to begin planning your service. And so it kind of worked like a planning guide. When you click Plan the Service, if you were signed in, it would allow you to pick which readings, the hymns, the order of service, additional rites, and add notes to it. All of this was a precursor to the online version of Lutheran Service Builder, and it allowed you to create an account and start using it. With the new version of Builder, you are utilizing, or you can utilize, your lutherancalendar.org account, and also all of your service plans. It will merge into Lutheran Service Builder Online. So you can take what you have in Lutheran Service Builder 2, take what you've got in Lutheran Calendar, merge them together to the new version, and that'll work out great. So as we look at Builder 2, that's what you would do. So I'm going to go ahead and enter in my information there. You can also create an account there, and all it needs is an email address and the password. So we'll click sign in. All right, now you can also upload your database multiple times. And so as our field testers were going through this, this would be the way that they would get new things in until we release My Worship resources and kind of stage into that. So you certainly want to upload your database the first time. If you have a second database that you utilize, I know some of our churches that use Lutheran Service Builder don't have any kind of server, and so they might have two different versions of Builder running. Maybe the administrative assistant has one and the pastor has another, and they share LSBX files. We've heard that many times. This will allow you to bring both databases into one. Now, understand there may be some duplication that you'll see if they're separate databases, but that's all going to be for the past. That's not going to be for the services moving forward. So get you kind of the best of both worlds if you have been running two different versions at your same church. And again, if you find that there's something that you want to bring in that you haven't, if you find it's easier to do something in 2 right now and you just need to get it done, you can always upload your database again. It won't overwrite any of the changes that you've made in the new online version, but it'll add to it. So just some clarification. Our hope is that once you upload this once, you'll be ready to go in the new version and not look back. If you do look back, let us know why. We'd love to hear about it. Maybe there's something we can improve on that end. All right, so we talked about trying the new version of Builder. You log in or you create your credentials and you upload your database. All right, moving forward. After you get in, the first thing you want to do is just become familiar with the new interface. So let's go ahead and look at how that'll work. All right, so we'll go ahead. You can either upload, or it says here, skip upload and open Builder. And when I click on that, it's going to open up my web browser. And we'll talk about what that means in just a moment. But I want to show you what your first experience with the new Lutheran Service Builder looks like. There you go. It looks kind of similar to Lutheran Calendar, doesn't it? Well, that was obviously intentional. Lutheran Calendar was the precursor to the new Lutheran Service Builder. And you start off on this calendar view. So we'll dig into this in much greater detail in just a few minutes. But what I want to do next is recommend that after you become familiar with it, you invite new users to join you as well. And that's a key difference with the new Lutheran Service Builder, is that you can invite others to have their own login credentials and kind of share some of the responsibility in service planning. So that's different because in the Lutheran Service Builder 2, you can't do that. It's all just one login from there. By the way, I should clarify, we are not calling it Lutheran Service Builder 3 because we do not plan to have a Lutheran Service Builder 4 or 5. We're just going to continually improve this new version of Builder, and so that's why we're referring to it in that way. All right, so after you've invited new users, and I'll walk you through that process in a moment, it's good to review your imported information, make sure everything came across, that you know where it's at. We've tested this import process literally thousands of times to make sure it comes across well. So it should all be there. It just may not be exactly where you expect it. We'll look at some of that in a few moments. And then you can start building services and you can start moving forward with this. It's the early release, but just about everything is in there and ready to go. And we'll talk at the end what's not in there and is still to come. All right, so the next section that we're going to get into is what has changed and what has not. So I'll just remind you, at this time, you are able to ask questions along the way. Tim's on there asking those. We'll go through some of these after when we get into the Q&A time. But I just wanted to pause here to remind you of that, because this next step is where we really get into the new version. All right, let's move forward. So first off, let's just talk about the 5 key things here. Well, actually, that's going to be in the new section. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. What has not changed? Well, first off, your data has not changed. Your services, your formats, your custom elements. If you bring that in, if you upload that from Lutheran Service Builder 2, that's going to be in there ready for you to use. And our development team went through a painstaking process of double checking everything, making sure that a service that was exported in 2 looks the same as it's exported in the new version, and went through all sorts of comparison checks. It should be exactly the same. It's still all based on Lutheran Service Book. Don't worry, we haven't removed any hymns or any of the liturgy elements. It's all still there. We will get the question from time to time about, well, what about previous hymnals like Lutheran Worship or the TLH, the Lutheran hymnal? Are you going to add that in there? Well, right now we don't have plans to, because about 80% of our of the LCMS, give or take some churches, around 80% or so, are utilizing Lutheran Service Book either through the printed edition, which is most, or exclusively through Lutheran Service Builder. There's a handful of churches that did not move to the Lutheran Service Book because they had Builder. But for the most part, the vast majority of our church body utilizes the content of Lutheran Service Book, and so that's why we're sticking with that. There may be some possibilities in the future, but that hasn't been our focus. Our focus has been getting this new version up and running. All right, lastly, most of the functionality is the same in the software. The location of it may have changed a little bit. The interface is certainly different, and you'll see that as we dig in. But you can still do just about everything that you could do in version 2 and much more. We have really improved it in a number of key areas, all based on feedback from our customers, and you've been so good at sharing that with us. I think it'll be exciting to see which things you've suggested to us that are implemented in here as you dig into it, because there's been a lot of common themes and we've made a lot of significant improvements. All right, so that's the stuff that hasn't changed. What has changed? Well, first off, it's now online. That's pretty exciting that it's now online and you're able to access it from a Mac. That's been our most common request for the last several years. When is there going to be a Mac version? Well, this is not the Mac version. This is the online version that's available on a Mac or a PC or a tablet. As long as you have a connection to the internet, you'll be able to access this. So we'll talk about that in a few minutes, what that also means for mobile and in tablets. Service planning is different. We introduced this concept last year when we improved Lutheran Calendar to include service planning. We wanted to give everybody the chance to try that out and start moving forward with it. It's very different. We're going to go through that process in just a few moments. The bulletin and presentation views are different. It used to be that you would do things on two different screens. We've kind of merged them together. Bulletin and presentation are still separate, but choosing the elements and how they look is what has changed. So we'll go through that. Bulletin and presentation formats has changed. How you select these formats, the styles, the content, even the layouts, that's all in a separate condensed area where it's all in one. It makes it for a pretty easy process of figuring out how your bulletins or presentations will look. And finally, the search and the previews is different. It's much more powerful than before. It should be a lot easier to find exactly what you're looking for because of the search capabilities. And we reviewed several of the major functional software that has search as a major function of that. That's a better way of saying that, to kind of borrow some of the best practices that are used in search across web devices and web applications now. So I'm excited to share that with you. All right, so let's talk about this moving online business. That's kind of a big deal. That's the main difference between version 2 and the new version. All right, first off, what that means is it's multi-platform. Again, welcome to our Mac users who have been so patient for years as we're waiting and hoping for this a version that they can use on their Macs as well. But it also is multi-device. So whether you are using a laptop and are not connected to the church's server, whether you're on a tablet or even a mobile device, you can use this. Now, the functionality will certainly change. The appearance will look a little bit different. On phones, you can't do as much as you can do on a tablet or a laptop because you just don't have that screen space. And mobile devices are not meant for publishing things that go out to print, but you can do your service planning on there and review different hymns and do quite a bit of it. We always had this kind of vision of maybe a pastor who's waiting for something like maybe on a plane or sitting in the hospital waiting room for a surgery to be completed, being able to look ahead and plan their service or even pull up the propers on their phone. So there's a lot of different use cases that are available now when you have all these different devices that can access the same information. So that's really exciting. Let's take a look at that. We'll take a look at the interface and how that works. So this is the calendar view. This is where you start off when you log into a Lutheran Service Builder. When you click, and actually I'm going to zoom in a little bit just so that you can see it better. I always want to be careful of that because I know my screen is real big and right in front of my face, and you guys are looking at a window of it. So I may zoom out, we'll see. You can navigate through this like a typical calendar application, and there's lots of nice animation throughout so it flows smoothly. You'll see that as I click around here. So let's go back into July. Now, if you go back into June, you'll see it starts to gray it out a little bit. There's some differences between services that have happened in the past and services that are moving ahead, and that's in the planning view. So let's click on July 8th, the 7th Sunday after Pentecost. And see, this is where you can see these, the propers. So there's your Old Testament reading, the Psalm, the Epistle, and so on. All of that is readily available down below. So if we go and click Plan the Service, now because I was logged in, I get into this service planning view. Now, what I can do is I can mock up what a mobile device looks like. And let me switch it this way. So you can see here, this is what it would look like on the phone. And so I can click back and it shows me all of the different dates. Let me scroll down. And it's really meant to be clicked and dragged like a finger. I always forget about that my scroll mouse acts differently. So when I click on the service, I can go and add different readings. And if I want to preview them, I can. I select that and go back. I can go and add a hymn. You have your full search capabilities. We'll talk about search in a second. Mighty Fortress. There we go. If I click on it, I can preview this, all of this from your phone, which is pretty exciting. Select that, add it in. So I wanted to show what that looks like. We'll switch my screen to what would look like an iPad, and we'll just refresh, show what that looks like. If you're doing the portrait mode on your iPad, it's going to look really good. Just like on your desktop, a little bit narrower space, but you can do everything you need to. So that is a key advantage to moving online that we never could have done if we continued programming with a Windows application. All right, so I mentioned this before, the ability to invite users to work together. This process is really simple. Let's go back into Builder. I'm going to be doing a lot of back and forth. I apologize if it's a lot of screen jumping for you. So within Builder, the first person who is signed up is the owner of the account. And if you go up to the settings cog on the top right, whoops, let me, I forgot that this is my, this is one I was testing. Let me go to, there we go. That's my account. That's the other fun thing, is that you can have multiple accounts. So you might have your separate pastor's account where you save elements as you go from call to call. And it's probably not a paid account, but you might be able to save notes for your sermons and stuff, or which sermon you wrote on each Sunday. Have kind of this record of it, and then go over to a different church account as you transition from one call to the next. We made that readily available because that does happen, and people will save information and they may want to access it after the fact. But when you go up to the settings cog and account settings, as long as you are the owner of the account, you can go in here and you can see I've got a number of different locations too. But I can go and just do a new invitation, and all I'm doing is sending an email. And when I send that email out, I should say Builder is sending that email, it will send a nice invitation to that person to sign in, and then you can make them an owner as well if you want them to be able to invite people. Because there's not really any sensitive information in Lutheran Service Builder, you're not dealing with financials or people's contact information, it's just the service. Really, the only difference between an owner and a user is the ability to add additional owners or additional users and make them owners. So that's a key difference. All right, let's talk about the last thing that moving online helps with. And there's probably more that are all encompassed in this last one. We're able to leverage web functionality, things like instant updates. Now that means that when we make an improvement to Lutheran Service Builder, we can send it out to you and you get it automatically. You don't have to worry about running an update. It just happens. So you always have the latest version available. So that's fantastic. Things like the items listed above is all available because we're utilizing web functionality too. All right, let's talk about service planning, because that's a key difference. So in Lutheran Service Builder 2, you could create a service, plan the different elements, and then choose your format. Let me just do a quick review of that here. So when you go to a calendar, you'd select your date. Let's go into July, Pentecost 7. So now you're creating this service right from the beginning. You're beginning to plan this all out. And the first thing you do is choose the order of service, which really sets that path. So we'll do Divine Service Setting 1. You're already identifying the liturgy that you're going to be using. So if you were planning months and weeks in advance, you'd have to know this before you ever planned hymns or readings, anything like that, if you're going outside the lectionary for readings. And it takes you to this view here, where you've got all of the different elements listed out. So you're going from this high level view all the way down into the nitty gritty very quickly. And as we spoke with our customers, we found that's not how they plan services. That's not how the majority of them would plan services. Many people would have, a calendar on the wall where they'd start writing out, okay, here are the readings for this. We're going to follow the lectionary for these days, but this is a special occasion, so we're going to go with this reading. And then they'd start mapping in things like preachers or specific hymns. Well, with the new Lutheran Service Builder, that's what the service plan is for. So when we go on here to 7th Sunday after Pentecost, we can plan out the readings, and it'll automatically put in the readings with the lectionary, but we can add or change what's in there. Then you can start planning out which hymns. You're not picking where in the service they are. You're just planning out which hymns you're looking for. So let's see here. I think I've got too many things open. Let me close out of that and just refresh real quick. So it'll suggest hymns based on what you're used to, based on the lectionary, based on the readings. All right, here we go. We're going to go back to the 7th Sunday after Pentecost. Add a hymn. Where are my suggestions not shown? There we go. All right, so my suggestions for Pentecost 9, we jumped a few weeks. Yeah, I'm not sure why that wasn't. It's probably because I already began testing with those. That's the one thing as I go through and I show off things, I've already started planning out these services and I jump back to them. So the default is when you go and add a hymn, you'll see the hymn for the day, hymns for the readings, other suggested hymns. That should feel very familiar for you. The difference is that you're not picking where in the liturgy these are going. You also get, within a glance, you can see the statistics right there. So you can start picking a few things, and as you add them, you go through and it starts creating this list of hymns for your service plan. Now you can add the divine service in the settings. You can add rites on it. So you may know that there's going to be a baptism coming up, and you can start planning for that. You can even add notes. So maybe Pastor Williams is preaching, and you could put the sermon topic or something on there if you wanted to. Either way, you can start planning all of this out at a very high level and then go to the next one. So if you are planning for a month or a quarter at a time, you can go through that process and do that high level planning without ever getting into the order of service. So that's what's really different here. So rather than create service, plan elements, choose formats, you're planning the service and going right into preparing the bulletin and presentation. So let's go back to our service here. We'll click 9th Sunday after Pentecost. We've got all of that kind of input. We'll click Prepare Bulletin. So now when I get into it, I'm already into my bulletin view. So I can also just go in and go to Prepare Presentation, and it'll jump me into the presentation mode. And that's really going into our next step. So you're going straight from planning the service to preparing the bulletin and presentation. So bulletin and presentation views, as you just saw, and we'll dig into in more detail now, are very different than before. So in Lutheran Service Builder 2, you'd select your elements, then choose your formats. So let's jump back to 2 as a quick refresher. Here's where we are selecting our elements. So there's the hymn of invocation, and let's just pick one for there. We'll add that in here. Now when I go into the bulletin view, I'm not selecting my elements, I'm selecting how they display. And I can say, okay, that's the text or that's the melody. I'll pick my stanzas now. So those are 2 very different steps. So you plan all your elements and then you kind of go through it again and plan how it's displayed. Whereas in the new version of Builder, it's all in one page here. So you are planning your elements as you're planning how they look. Now you've set your divine service setting. That's great. Then if you, looks like we've got, let me go to the default. I have my standard one in there. And we'll just switch it to divine. Oh yeah, that's right. All right, so I jumped ahead on there. So here is our divine service setting 1. as we are wanting to insert things, so maybe we are wanting to insert a hymn, you just click Insert, go Hymn, and place that wherever you are starting. Maybe that's your introduction hymn. It'll pull up your different hymns that you can choose from, and the first things that are up there are the service plan. So the hymns that you've already selected are available right at the beginning, and when you hover over it, you can see it's going to be a little bit light. You can see that there are, it highlights where it is in the readings below. So if it's Built on the Rock, you can see it's one based on the hymn readings. If you can still go and select anything else, so you probably won't want to select the hymn for the day because it's, yeah, I've already started planning this service. It's used for more than once in your service. It'll tell you that. But you can go ahead and select whatever hymn it is, and then you choose how it's displayed all in that one spot. Say, okay, show me with the melody, and maybe we're going to remove stanza 3. So I take that out, and there we have it. And so it's really digging you right into the midst of planning your presentation or your bulletin without doing that in a, one step with the elements and one step with the formatting. So that's quite different. Now, what you probably noticed when I started is where we're heading next is the formats. Before I go too far, let me go and show you what the presentation view looks like doing that same process. So when I go to prepare presentation, it'll take a second to load that. Now I have a custom format already in place, and it remembers what I've done. Let me put it on basic because I'm not ready to get into there yet. All right, so there's my basic presentation mode. It begins putting everything right into what the view will look like. And there's a lot of complicated things that go into this based on how it estimates how many slides you'll need for each thing. I wish I could share all of that with you because it just shows the care that our team went into planning this out. I can't do that, we don't have enough time, but it should be very seamless to you as you add things in here. And so from this presentation view, as you select these different elements, it will pull up on the right-hand side what you can do with them. So if we go and click Built on the Rock, it'll change that hymn all the way out and show you all the slides that you need. From here as well, you can choose your stanzas, or you can choose to move that element around and it'll let you drag and drop and place it. So it's a very different experience because you can not just preview it, but you can make the changes right then and there. You don't have to go back to another screen like you did in Builder 2. So that's an oversimplification of these views, but it's pretty powerful. And there's going to be a number of things to get used to. This is where the interface is different. And even though the actions, the core concepts are the same, the appearance is quite a bit different. It's, as you'll notice, it's a lot more streamlined and simple. You know, you don't have much on the screen here as you go through it. Now, we'll actually, there's a few things I'll go ahead and show you right now before we get into presentation formats. I know I'm running a little bit high on my time. I'll still try to wrap up within that hour, but I want to show a few things that are different. So what you might remember in the, we'll go back, back to Builder 2. As you're selecting elements, you'd have these radio buttons. So like here, Absolution or Declaration of Grace. You pick which one you need there. Well, you still have those options. They're just done differently. So here in the new version of Builder, you can see this blue line with a little arrow. I'll zoom in a bit so you can see it. It's over on the left-hand side here. When you click that arrow, it gives you these different options, and you can pick which one you want. So if you are wanting to do the Declaration of Grace, you select that. You can turn the caption on or off. If you want absolution, you can do that. And again, caption can just go off here. There we go. So you see here, introit. Well, there's some options. I can do the introit or the psalm, or I could do an entrance hymn. That was another one. That's down below. As you select these things, then it collapses it again. Now that blue line and arrow, those won't print out in your format. Those are just there for you to know, well, there's other options here within this divine service setting. So it's pretty powerful and really streamlined. It also allows you to just rename things as you want it. So if you wanted to put something else in here, you can type that in right from within the screen. Now, you can't change the elements within them. You can only change the captions. You can also change the subcaptions just by clicking on them. And all of the previous shortcuts that you have are still available in this version for the subcaptions. And like I mentioned before briefly, you can insert elements by clicking Insert and drag and drop it into place. So if you wanted to insert a right and say, all right, let's see, well, no pun intended there. We'll put that right there. Then it lets you select which right you would put in. So we'll just put the litany right there. So then you can choose to display all the contents or just have it reference if you're going to pull out your copy of the Lutheran Service book. So lots of great things in there. I won't be able to show this all right now. More than anything, I want to show what has changed. And we'll have some full trainings later on that get into these details. As I get into it, I have a lot of fun playing around. So again, in Builder 2, you select elements, then you choose your formats. And then in the new version, you select your elements and choose formats all in line at the same time. So really what we did is, in the old version of Builder, you had all of your process kind of streamlined in that center, where you already have jumped past that long-term planning to planning the service, and then each step was done individually. Here we've kind of broken it out and said, all right, I should go on this side actually, based on the screen. You have your high level over here, and then as you get down to the nitty-gritty, that's all done at one time. So we've kind of separated that process out to go high level and low level as your true steps. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's talk about bulletin and presentation formats, because I'm running short on time already. So they're quite a bit different in here in terms of the interface. The functionality is almost identical. So bulletin and presentation formats in Lutheran Service Builder 2, you had custom themes and custom formats. Let's take a look at that. So on the bulletin view, you had your themes, and of course there's plenty of defaults, and you edited what we said edit style sheet. And that was all in here, and how you actually make it look, the fonts, the colors, all of that. Now the formats were how different elements displayed. So you'd click Edit Service Format, and you'd get this for each individual element, readings, propers, liturgy, all of that. Well, you also had layouts here, which would say what size the paper was, or in case of presentation, what size the screen was. Now, within the new version of Service Builder, all of that has been condensed into what we call bulletin formats and presentation formats. So bulletin formats are a combination of those three things. So let's go take a look at default. So you can see over on the far right, you have your style, your layout, and your content. Now, have no fear, all of your previous styles or your themes, I should say, and your formats are all in here on the left. So when you import it, it'll take every combination that you've ever exported before and put it in there. You might have a lengthy list, and it will try to sort it by most common use. And I say try, I think it does. But you can also choose to rearrange it by dragging and dropping the order. So like UI default letter folded is up here. You know, Creative Worship was one of those same ones that was in there. It was probably a modified version of it. And you can double click these and rename them. You can go and do new formats based off of defaults. You can copy one of your own formats. So you can have a variety of different types as you go through this, of different bulletin formats. So just so you know, you're able to combine those different things. So we'll take a look here real quick. Under the section, you've got body, heading, caption, rubric, copyright. So you can still go into your headings and change the fonts, change the paragraph spacings, all of that fun stuff is right in there. Layouts, you can pick the paper size, the margin, how to scale the music. All of that should be very familiar to you. And content, again, you've got your headings, your rubrics, your hymns, your liturgies, your propers. Your readings go in with your propers here as well. So it's a little bit different there, but it all kind of makes sense because proper readings are part of the propers. So I encourage you to take some time, play around with this, take a look at the preview, see if that's what you're expecting. There's some things that are interesting with fonts, and that's a discussion for another time. It's no longer based on the fonts that were on your computer because it's online. And so you may not see your font there that you're used to seeing on your list. Now, if you've used that font before as part of your export, it should show up there as part of your formats. And it'll still use the font on your computer to export it. But just know that when you drop down this list, it's not going to be the exact same as what you might see in Microsoft Word or something like that. Again, a lot goes into that too. Not a lot on the back end that I won't explain here. All right, actually, let me go and show you presentation as well. I'm right at my 50-minute mark, so clearly I had more things than time. But we'll keep going for a few minutes. We'll take some questions as we finish up. So presentation formats, same kind of thing. You get to see the preview of it. You've got the style where you can upload the background. You've got your layout and your content all right here as well. So like this example here, Light of Christ Pentecost. My Zoom has kind of changed it. You can see I added a background image. I changed the font. I changed some of the spacing. That is all there and ready to go. And I can copy this format and change the background for a different church year color if I wanted to. And makes it really easy to take my church's standard format and clone it with the different variations that we might have. All right, we'll close out of that. So bulletin presentation formats, you used to create custom themes and custom formats. Now you create, oops, I did customer. You can tell that I'm in marketing, I often type the word customer. I'll make sure to change that for future ones. So there we go. We'll just clear that out. All right, so custom themes and custom formats, you create custom bulletin or presentation formats. All right, now next up we have search and preview. And this is the last of the 5 major changes. So let me go back into Builder. I don't have bullet points for this one. Now, you noticed before that when you click on an element, the search will come up on the right. This search is quite a bit different in that you don't have any tabs or anything to filter. You use kind of hashtags, if you will, or these filters, inline filters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the settings. Let me zoom in a little bit because I did zoom out before. Go up to search, and this is kind of my global search. So when I click in there, it gives me some examples of how to search. I could search for Mighty Fortress, which is any words, and it'll show how that looks. Let's reset the search. I can use quotes for an exact phrase. I can do Bible references. I can look up a hymn by number. I can start filtering by type. So if I hit the pound or hashtag, I can say, all right, only show me hymns. And I can hit tab to go through it, and it'll turn green when it's a proper filter. And so I can then say, you know, thy strong word, and it'll show me what I have here. So thy strong word, if I wanted that exact phrase, I put that in quotes, and it only shows hymn results with that exact phrase. So there's a lot that you can do and combine it. If I wanted to say hymns, author Martin Luther, oops, I got to put that in quotes. There we go. And hit enter, it'll only show me hymns written by Martin Luther. So you can do any kind of combination of searches as you go. And from here in this master search, you can still select stanzas and export it out as a Word document, a rich text file. You can even do HTML if you're going to share this on your website. And again, that's where having that that copyright or those licenses comes into play. And you can print and copy from here too. This is the way to go if you want to. We know many customers will just use Builder as a way to export the information and copy it into their predefined format. This is a great way to use that. You can just click copy, it goes to your clipboard, and you can go paste it where you need it. The preview part of it is, you can see here under the master search, you've got your search on the left and your preview on the right. Now, when you're doing it inline, close out of that. There you go. When you're doing inline, you don't get that. But if you click this little show high preview button on the right side, that'll move it over here and you can still get that. So that is one of the differences, is that you don't have those 3 columns. You usually only just have 2 columns available because, again, this is meant for devices of different sizes. You might have that on your tablet where you don't have as much screen real estate as your high-res monitor, but you can quickly and easily navigate back and forth between them. All right, so if you, I did forget to mention with this, the statistics, if you click on the statistic, it'll show you previous uses and you can jump back to that if you wanted to. Now I'm jumping too far. Let's go back one more time. Here we go. We'll click on hymns. And it's a little slow right now. I've noticed that it's dragging a little bit. It's because I'm streaming live and I'm connected to showing everything. Let me jump back down to a future service. You can't do a service plan for a past service because it doesn't make sense. You're not going to plan for something that happened in the past. So let me jump into back to the 9th Sunday, add the hymn. I want to show one last thing with the preview. If you go into the info tab, you have all of these links. So you can say like related topics beginning of the service. If you click that link, it's going to show you how you would search for that if you just typed it in. And so it's a way to kind of learn that search. All right, I am going way too far into my time. Let me finish this up and then we'll get into some question and answers. Those are the main things. Now there's 2 things, 2 primary things that are coming soon, and they're coming in a matter of days or weeks. Concordia Organist, that's going to be a new process. We can't burn CDs anymore because most computers don't have CD-ROMs. So we're going to allow you to download a playlist, and there'll be a nice preview. So only a portion of our customers use Concordia Organist, but that's still coming. MediaShout 6 export is on its way as well. You can export your presentation to PowerPoint right now, but we're going to allow you to export to the latest version of MediaShout 6. And there's some other presentation software that we've had requests for. We are considering those, ProPresenter being one of them, but we have not been able to work with them to get the file format right. So MediaShout has been they have a very easy file export for us. They've been great to work with, so that's why that's coming next. A few other things that you'll see over the coming weeks. Extra stanzas engraved to melodies. For those hymns that have very long or multiple stanzas, you might have the first 4 or 5 engraved to the melody and the rest are just in text. Well, we are adding the melody for those additional stanzas. So they're not all in there yet, but they're on their way. And then there's also going to be an improved sync with Creative Worship and Let Us Pray. That's going to be several months out. That'll come after the launch, but we're excited about that. One thing I forgot to show you that you might not see right away is if you want to bring in an LSBX file from Let Us Pray or Creative Worship, there's that import from LSBX file up in that navigation. All right, well, I left 2 minutes for questions. I'm okay going a little over if you are. Thankfully, we've had our team there. I can see Tim's been very active in answering questions. Let me go through some of these as we wrap up here. Actually, I forgot I have one more slide to show you. If you are ready to move forward, the first step is to schedule a time with our software consultants. And let me put that in that link in the chat here for everybody. So you can go and set up a time. Now we've got thousands of customers who are going to be moving to the new online version, and we've got a team hard at work, but in order to keep it kind of staggered as people start, especially if you're calling into support and asking questions, we don't have everybody calling in at once. So you set up a time that gives you a chance to talk with the consultant, go through the license agreement, get up and running, then they'll set you up and make it easy for you to transition, send you the instructions. So this is your first step. So that conversation will go, like I said, less than 15 minutes. They'll send you the new license agreement after that's signed. Beforehand, they'll align the subscription dates, and that'll be included. You'll see that in the license agreement. After that's signed, they'll turn on access to the new builder, send you instructions on how to get started, and be able to answer any questions that you have. The instructions are available. I had them available in a PDF that was preview. They'll send those to you. I'll make sure that I have that up on the next webinar I do that. So let me put my information on the screen there while I go take a look at the questions. I apologize for running a little over. Like I said, this is my first time leading this presentation, so I wasn't sure exactly how much time to spend on each. You can plan it out, but it doesn't always work. So let's go through some of these questions here. All right. Let's see. Reverend Pfeffer said, I received a new computer a few months ago and we did not put LSB2 on the computer in anticipation of the new program. How does that affect me? Should I load the old program? Absolutely. You can either bring in LSB2 right now, 2.3.8. We can help you get to that latest version, or you can wait till it's available for everybody. When it's released later on this summer, you don't need to have LSB2 in there, but it's best for bringing up your old services and uploading your database. So that's what we recommend.
Do you need?
Next question is, each person need to update and upload their upload in their computer, use the new version of Builder. If you're all running from the same database, then only one does. If you're running from different databases, then you will need to do that, or at least your primary one.
Lutheran Service Builder. So,
all right. Does each person need their own login? How is asking that? Yes, that's the best way to do it. That way you're not sharing usernames or passwords, and they're free. You can have as many, and I think that was a question that's coming up. You can have as many different logins as you need. No limit for your church. Now, again, the license agreement is for your church, or if it's a dual parish.
The reserving times and making outbound calls.
But for in general, it is just.
I don't know how they decided.
Just your church.
All those customers that they were going to do that.
I think you might
be decided to do, and
so all right. Sorry about that. I just saw that thing to mute Rod Kyle. Sorry about that, Rod. I think you had accidentally unmuted yourself. Rod's one of the others who is online talking. So hopefully hopefully you could hear my answer. Let me go back just a quick moment. You can have as many users as you need, and you should give them all user logins so that everybody can log in at the same time and do what they need to do without sharing that username and password. All right, and you're all going to be working off of the same account, but you could be working on different services. I should clarify, you don't want to be working on the same service at the same time because you might overwrite each other's changes. All right, let's see. If you set up the internet version, are your existing programs disabled? Nope, you'll still be able to use the current version if you need to. That's going to be ready to go, and you can always upload those changes again. Let's see. Janice Bird, can you listen to part of the hymns before selecting them? Janice, yes, you can. Let me show that real quick. There's this melody play button right there. Still the MIDI files. When we get to Concordia Organist, you'd be able to preview those files as well, but you just click that play button. All right, do hymns come in a readable size, text box size, so as to be printed in the bulletins appropriate, or is it stretching of them still required? Well, that goes into the formats where you can choose to, let's see here, under content, oh, sorry, it's under layout, where you can automatically scale those. So that's another one. I'm already well over time, so let me get just a few more. Will you have to export to Word, or can you just print right from the online app? If you can print right from the online app, we'll be able to use, able to do announcements and other custom elements. You cannot print right from the online app. Browser printing is very limited in what it can do. And so in order to export, you would go to your bulletin. Let me go back to that. Prepare bulletin. And you can export to a docx, a rich text format, or HTML, but you won't want to print from that. So either docx file or a rich text file. And then you can make whatever modifications you need, add announcements, add a cover page, and print it from there. All right, Julie's asking, how long does it usually take to set up? Not too long. The process of getting a license agreement may take up to a day if they have to restructure the starting dates and send it to you. Again, we've got a lot coming in, so there is going to be some delay. But once you get that license agreement signed and ready to go, you get the instructions. The process of getting in there only takes a couple seconds to upload your database and begin using it. So it's not too hard after that. All right. Let's see, is the browse function available to look at hymns by category or type? Example, Advent or Christmas. If you go into the search and just go to hymns, that should show everything. Let's see, there you go. So that is essentially the replacement for browse by just doing that pound or hashtag hymns, and then it'll show it all to you. All right, Randall's asking, will the online version be able to print the service correctly in Mac, or will it still need to be printed by MS Word to include all the correct formatting? Mac OS Pages. We've tested it on Mac OS Pages. It should be just fine. I'm not going to guarantee 100% because sometimes they change things, but the goal is that you can print it out from a Mac OS Pages without any problems at all. Same with something like Google Sheets. You'd have to upload it to Google Sheets. There's not a sync to, or sorry, Google Docs. I'm always in the Excel mindset and the spreadsheets. But in Google Docs, you can do that as well. So it's not meant for just Microsoft Word. You can do it in other word processors too. All right, Elan's asking, is there an option to print out some of the long-term planning, like for worship committee to see without having each person look at Builder online? There's not a calendar format. You could print out the individual services with your notes and your selections, but really it is meant for everybody to be able to just log in, and that's why it's so easy to do it on your phone too. So if you're sitting around a meeting table, you could pull it up on your phone and see what's in there. So that's something we might consider if we get more feedback from that, but I appreciate the suggestion. Kim is asking, can you copy and paste in the Word with all the lines for the music there, or the music lines mess up like an LSB2? Well, it depends on what mess up means. There's a lot of ways that it could mess up. The intention is that you can copy out. In fact, I was right where I needed to be in search, where you can, let's just select that one, where you can go and copy and paste it into Word. You're talking melody. It should copy and paste nicely. If it doesn't, let us know, because that is certainly the intention. In fact, I can open up Word now and we'll show what that looks like. We'll give that a second while I look ahead at the next question. All right. So we'll paste that in. And that comes across pretty nicely. I don't see any challenge with that. All right, Phil is asking, will the sermon series from CPH, which are no longer on CDs, be available to import into Builder? Right now, the LSBX files are available, and you would bring those in to Builder by going up into the settings cog there up at the top and clicking Import from LSBX file. There are a lot of possibilities now for how we can do that in the future since it is online. So stay tuned. That wasn't on the top of our list because that's not already in there. But our plan is to have some easy way of bringing in outside sources like Creative Worship and Let Us Pray, like I mentioned before. How we use Concordia Organist after we convert it until it is online. In that case, you would still need to do it within LSB2. But like I said, that's coming in a matter of days, weeks at the most. I'm hoping that you'll see that by the end of this week. It might still be next week, but it's in the final stages of testing, so you won't have to wait long. All right. Let's see. You said we'd have to have access to the old builder too, also after we bring on new builders. Is correct? Well, once you have to have access to LSB2 to move to the new version. If everything is where you need it to be in the new version, you don't have to maintain LSB2. It doesn't have to have there's no sync or anything like that. You can continue to use it if you wanted to. You just want to re-upload your database to bring those changes into the online version. But really, it's just for the initial setup, and then you're off and running. All right, and then we started getting into the questions about two voices. Sorry about that. Here we go. There's a few others in there that are a little bit more detailed. We'll respond after the fact. But Jackie asked a real good question that I know lots of people probably are asking is, are you eliminating the standalone software version? If so, how long before that happens? Well, our plan is to continue to support LSB2 for as long as there's demand for that. So as long as customers are still using it, I know many will have slow internet connections in rural areas. We don't have any definite plan to remove support for that right now. The expectation is that when the majority of customers move online, then we will discontinue support for it. But we don't have a time frame for that. And if and when we do that, many different applications are going away on desktop based on just the needs of customers. If we did that, it would be during a summer time frame when you can have time to transition. But there will be plenty of warning. I don't foresee that happening anytime in 2019. If all of a sudden all of our customers moved over and we only had a couple left, then we might. But I think it'll probably take some time based on my experience of converting to web-based applications. So if you prefer that, continue to use it for now. We highly recommend you look at the new version because that is what we'll be continuing to update. We won't be providing any new updates or improvements to LSB2, but we'll continue to support it. All right. Well, I am 11 minutes into it, and I can see a lot of people who have asked questions have already dropped out. What we will do is if you did not get your question answered, we will email it. If you want to stick around, I can answer a few more of these before we wrap up for the day, but I do apologize for going over. So let me put my contact information one last time, and I'll take a look at these last few questions, see if I can get a few of these out. So there's my information. Well, one of the last ones asked, Holly said, you mentioned license for streaming. Does that include Facebook? Absolutely, it does include Facebook. Live video on Facebook or recorded videos, you just have to maintain your license if you've got that recording out there. Is the price going to be the same? Yes, I mentioned that earlier, but it will be the same if you transition online. There might be a price increase at the end of 2019, but at least right now and at your next renewal, it's going to be the same. So price increases occur on products all the time, so we can't guarantee that rate, but at least between now and your next renewal, and you'll have that. So it'll be the same for you for quite a while. All right, is that LSB X-Files, the new science fiction show? Jim, that's the extension of the file. But that's how, if you wanted to bring in like a creative worship file, you could put that in there too. All right, let's see what else. Did I skip over or did I go through too fast? All right. Well, I'll dig through, figure out any that I didn't answer, and we'll get back to you. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to me, or like I said, the first step to transition into the new version is to talk to our software consultants. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you learned a lot about this. I hope you're excited about trying the new online version, and we'll talk to you soon. Have a great rest of the day.